This is a harness out of a 2017 Buick Enclave. This was from the interior, so you can see it's very similar to the one that I've already showed you, but it's just a little bit more complex. You will notice though, however, that this one is covered in electrical tape or some type of tape that they put on at the manufacturer. There are a couple of different ways to deal with that. So before we can depin this one, it would be rather difficult to do one fairly thick wire at a time with the little amount of wiring that we have available to us here. So what we need to do is get rid of some of this harness without damaging the wiring. So the typical tools for that would be something like a Stanley knife, or you can use your utility knife. Mine is always dull, so it doesn't work very good for this. I have had pretty good luck just with a blade, but you do have to be careful. If you slip, that's not going to be pleasant for anybody involved. However, check this out. One of my second-year apprentices actually showed this to me, and this is pretty cool. I can't believe I never thought of this before. So this is a stitch ripper, a seam ripper for sewing. Rips through the stitching on cloth. This part right here, you've got your point, you've got a dull section to it, and then right there is the blade. So check this out. I just got to bend my connector down a little bit so I can get access to it. And then in we go. And that was a very nice cut without damaging the wires. And it looks like I can just pull this back now. But even if I have to get back in there, I can spread my wires a little bit. And seam cutter. That is absolutely gorgeous. Where was this trick when I started in the trade 18 years ago? Why did no one show this to me? And you can see there that these wires are in perfect condition. I didn't nick any of them, which is awesome. No liquid electrical tape needed today. So now that we have a little bit of room to move these wires around, I spent a lot of money on this new macro lens, so we might as well use it. Right here is a little plastic retainer that holds in the connector. And all we need to do is pull that back so that we can pull our electrical connector out. So let's do that. Now that we have our harness stripped back a little bit, look at our connector now. And this connector is a two-piece connector. What we need to do first is remove this white piece of plastic. And every connector, unfortunately, is built a little bit differently. So this becomes a patience and persistence. Does not look like I can push that out from underneath. And this is kind of frustrating because it's pretty obvious that the manufacturer doesn't want you in here playing with this. I forget what this harness came off of, what type of circuit. Okay, did you see how that popped out? Look at that. So now, oh, I clicked it back in. There we go. Just slowly working this back and forth. Because I don't want to break this. It is there for a reason. The manufacturer would not have spent the money making this if they didn't deem it necessary to be there. There we go, once you get underneath it. Okay, is that clipped in again? There we go. So you can see the little piece right there that was holding everything in. Now that I have that out, it should be much, much easier for me to be able to get these little connectors out, or these pins out. Let's see, I was trying on the blue wire earlier there. Can I do it just with my pick? If I pull that tab back, pull that little tab back, my connector comes right out. And you can see on the connector, you can see right here, this little opening is where this little plastic tab connects and bites into this connector to make sure that it doesn't pull out. So that's neat. Might have to special order that one from the dealer. So let's try this again using my generic tool here. Grab that little tab, pry back, and I should be able to. There's my red wire. Out she goes. Let's try one more time with this little tool. And there we go. So it didn't particularly matter. I was able to use my inexpensive depinning kit, my semi-inexpensive, kind of mid-grade universal depinner, and a pick. I might even be able to use my stitch ripper here. Let's try this, see if I can do this without poking myself. Yeah, that worked too. Very good. So now, just reverse the process after you've made whatever repairs you have to make. Anytime you're working in on a harness and you're going to cut something, even if I'm cutting an end off, I always like to give it just a little bit of room because you never know when you're going to need that. I've worked with some guys that'll just cut the connectors right flush, and then, like, what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do with that. You'd have to rebuild the entire thing, and that adds a huge, huge amount of time. So obviously pay attention to where your wires came out from. I am a big fan. We have phones, so let's use these for more than just passing the time while we're pooping. Take pictures before you pull stuff apart. Take videos as you're pulling stuff apart. It's awesome to be able to do that. I really wish that was a thing when I first got started. It would have saved me a lot of headaches. And then don't forget, these little connectors have to go back in place. They're there for a reason. And then we could tape this back up so that our harness is complete and back in the vehicle. I have one more bonus harness for you here. So this is an old Ford injector harness. You see this is a multi-point design, so I'm not exactly sure how old it is, but these have been around for a little while. So this is, I guess I should say, the remnants of a harness. And these ones obviously go outside the vehicle. Even though it's under the hood, it's still considered an exterior connector because it meets the weather. So this one is weather sealed. So now we have to deal with removing the weather sealing for access. So let's cut back our loom here. Use my fancy stitch ripping tool. Give myself a little bit of space. Okay, that's pretty fantastic. And same thing again here. Come on. And patience is a virtue when you're doing this. But again, look at my wires. There are no bits of damage to these wires from cutting that open. Whereas if you use a blade, it is very easy. Watch, I'm going to cut my finger open on camera. Just something like that, which you can hardly see. I felt that go all the way through the insulation. But look at that. Something as simple as cutting the tape off the wire could open you up to a whole world of diagnostic troubles down the road. Because this isn't going to fail right away. All the insulation is damaged. All of the copper wire underneath is still okay. So over time, dirt, debris is going to build up in there, and this is going to corrode, and then that wire is going to break, and you're going to get an intermittent connection there. So that may not even come back on you, But that just, oh, can you imagine being the tech that's going to have to go through and find that, especially if this harness is located underneath an intake or something. So go to the dollar store, go to any of your local quilting or fabric places, whatever, Amazon. These are not expensive. Seam ripper or stitch ripper, these will be called. So now that we have access to our connector, we have access to the wires in behind it, we have to pull out the weather stripping or the weather sealing. So this is sealed right here as a gasket, that orange piece. And then this gray piece is also a gasket. So again, being careful not to damage your wiring. Just work your pick, whoa, careful there. Work your pick back in and pull that weather seal out. And again, patience, patience, patience. Okay, I got that out. So now I have access. I can see the back of the connector. Let's see what that looks like in there. And now I need to do the same thing on the front. I don't think I actually do. I lied to you. Let's pull that little bit of gasket material out so we have a better visual. I don't think I need to do that to remove the pins. However, what I will need to do to remove the pins is get rid of this little yellow plastic lock. So to do that, pop that up and then pull it out. Now I have access to the pins, and looking deep down in there, it would appear that the little clips, the little piece of plastic that holds the connector in is right there. So I'm going to do this red wire first. I'm going to pull that positive lock out, and boom, there's my connector. Just like that. And now you can really see that little locking finger right there that holds my connector in place. Again, you just make your repair and reverse the process to put everything back together. If you have to cut the end off, make sure that you don't drop your weather sealing or your weather packing, because it can be a little bit of a pain to slide this stuff on over top of the new connectors. I hope this helps. If there's anything else I can do for you, please let me know in the comments below. Have a good one.